record.
Yeah,
Uh,
I actually do a bit with XR now and stuff. So I'm kind of curious to learn a little bit more. I did see the website that you guys have with the smart bow and arrow. Well,
mm,
not bow, but or not arrows, but the smart bow with the smartphone. It was very very cool. It's a
it's
neat idea.
it's it's very cool, and the multiplayer aspect is very exciting. The idea that you can you I mean it's um I mean, you can skin anything into the experience. So any
Yeah,
licensed content, any licensed characters, and once you bring a universe to the actual physical experience of it,
yeah,
because the content asset, our parent company is a software company, but the
yeah,
focus now is toys and games. But the world of toys and games, as we both know, is
yeah,
connected to storytelling, animation, and the
yeah,
most and again, if you've come from Disney, such as yourself, you'd understand what makes good storytelling, what makes good content, and how do you bring that. I mean, toys is just an extension of that, just productization of a universe that's been created.
yeah.
From my perspective, that's my.
There is.
I mean, it works the other way around as well. Just tell, please introduce yourself, Brian, because it's not really I get to speak to someone with your background and experience.
So my name is Brian Collins. I'm a former Walt Disney Imagineer. So my specialty in Imagineering was as a show writer, which doesn't mean writing traditional like stage shows. It means writing for the bigger Disney show as a whole. So I was the guy that wrote like bad jokes for the Jungle Cruise and scripts and spiels for the attractions and creative signs and plaques for the parks, and then every once in a while, kind of dipped into some other areas, creative areas, and supported theming, overall theming, and show set design and things like that. So, yeah. And
And
now I've kind of evolved. My career is really kind of now focused on three pillars that make up my background, which is innovation and creativity that's anchored in that Imagineering experience, and then second one would be education. I've got experience not only as an educator and teaching higher education, but also working in education technology. And that kind of bleeds over to the third pillar, which is new and emerging technologies like XR, VR, and new web technologies, and really anything that's out there. So it's kind of,
oh,
and I work as a innovation consultant now.
lovely. Which leads me into my next question.
Yeah.
So, what did you guys in Disney? Were you playing around with VR? I mean, I imagine the theme parks you were using VR for some of the experiences. I haven't been to the theme parks in
So not yeah, not when I was there because I left before VR was actually even a thing. I'm kind of aging myself a little bit. But these days now, immersive attractions are like really becoming kind of like the standard. Not so much VR experiences, but more AR kind of stuff, and even kind of that hasn't, I would say, found its strong footing in the theme park experiences, but certainly the immersiveness that you feel when you're in like an XR experience that certainly has if you go on like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, for example, which is one of the newer attractions, or even you go to like Galaxy's Edge, based on Star Wars, and you go into the outpost of Batu and the Black Spire outpost. I mean, the whole idea there is that you're just immersed in these experiences. So to kind of wear the headsets within a theme park environment hasn't really kind of gone there yet, but there have been some experimenting with it. So I think it's going to come down the road.
have you had a chance to experience the void and the work we did with Star Wars? Because location based
Yeah,
entertainment,
right.
and that's
Yeah,
probably the best partnership
yeah,
VR and a particular now Disney brand that I've seen so far.
yeah.
And I think that's just going to create a whole new dimension of storytelling. I mean, I think what the Void has done is groundbreaking.
Yeah, yeah. The void experience is really kind of fantastic. I actually did experience the void, uh, which I was really kind of sad. And they're no longer at Disney anymore. Actually, they pulled out some time ago, about 6 or 8 months ago already. But there's another company
How
out of
come?
Australia called Zero Latency that has a wonderful immersive experience that I've done, which is very similar.
Yeah, well, equally wonderful. I mean, there's a couple. I mean, there's a few leaders in the space, zero
Yeah,
latency, Hologate,
yeah,
but these and the void. These were all kind of like the next gen emerging location based
yeah,
platforms. So
yeah.
I don't know if you're allowed to. Why did the void pull out of Disney? Because I thought that partnership was rock solid. That what they were trying to do with was it
I think I don't know everything behind it, but it sounded to me like there were some um, internal issues going on with the company with the void that um, led to them pulling out.
probably to do
Um,
with licensing, right? Not being allowed to work outside of Disney if you're working with Disney brands and then you want to do your own stuff. You're maybe it's I'm just speculating. Might be a limitation for them when you're working with Disney. Disney probably wants a lot of creative control over your process and avoid
yeah,
the potential of what they're
I,
doing. That's really
I
interesting.
yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to speculate too much, but I heard that there were just some internal leadership issues with the company, which is a shame. Sometimes a small company kind of grows very, very quickly and has a tough time keeping up with that growth, and I think that may have kind of been their Achilles heel.
I think that's happened a lot in VR and AR because of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
insane level of investment without the actual time to build those foundations to support that vision and
yeah,
actually deliver on that vision in yeah in
yeah,
in a sustained way where the CEOs, the leaders of
yeah,
those companies can actually hold that, like Magic
yeah,
Leap, same
yeah,
story. Like
yeah,
like lots of big companies with big investments have just folded because I think it's just vision meeting practicality and
yeah,
timing as well.
yeah.
Uh,
It's still a new industry. It's still a new space. A lot of us working in it call it the wild, wild west,
yeah,
right? Because I think a lot of us are still kind of like learning along the way, and the potential, um, is certainly just amazing, just incredible. But there's a learning curve going on right now in the whole industry. So.
mm,
Um,
agreed. So just I want to pivot towards AR, and my focus is the toys and games space. And you mentioned that you've looked at AR, and that might be something that that would be interesting to you because of your
yeah.
background, your journey. Do you have any? I mean, apart from Pokemon Go, which I think everyone is very familiar with, and they see that was a huge success within the space. And Disney's obviously brought out some AR products. Where do you see the opportunities with toys and game space and augmented reality? How do you see that market growing? What experience do you have, if any?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think for me, a lot of the strongest growth is going to take place in niche markets. I think now a lot of people are kind of like over like this is the shiny new thing. Oh, isn't that cool? And they're looking for some real relevance built into the experiences, not to just go into VR just or XR space just to go in, but they're looking for I think real experiences and stuff. So I think there are a couple verticals that are really going to start benefiting. One area where I've been doing uh, some exploration has been in the education market. I think there's a lot to be had in education, and I've worked with some folks already, and we've done like some low prototypes and usually right now using off the shelf stuff like Engage or AltSpace for environments, and just kind of like starting to push and see what we can do. Gaming for sure is always going to be a part of it. I'm also have been working with another company called Magic Bytes, which originally came out of Germany, and the founder, Thomas, was actually one of the pioneers in the gaming, computer gaming industry back when Amigas and Commodores were something. And now he's creating amazing content in XR. And one of the games he's doing is uh, um, I got to be careful. I don't want to say a whole lot, but it's a really kind of a fun XR game that's based on for kids. And we've looked at how we can also do some games that are STEM based for older kids, where maybe they go up onto a space station and they have these really cool adventures or interactive things that they need to do, and there's learning goals associated with it. So I think education is going to be one area. The other area where I'm starting to put a lot of focus is in simulation training, and in my case, in military simulation and training. The military is already doing a fair amount with it. Orlando, where I live, happens to be the largest concentration of military simulation and training development in the world.
Mm.
Every branch of the military is based here with initiatives and really cool things going on behind locked doors that they would never be able to tell you about. But just amazing projects that they're doing, and so I've been looking at how we can adapt um, XR uh, training in some new and different ways that haven't been done yet.
Mm.
So, yeah.
So, I mean, commercially, I think. Do you think that's where there's the greatest commercial opportunity? I mean, I would agree that currently in the training space and the social space, VR, that's where VR is going to really add value today.
Yeah.
In with again, I'm always pivoting back to AR because AR is really kind of,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. How do you have and again is what can you talk about what Disney was looking at with AR or what is that something?
I mean, like I said, I haven't been there for so long in terms of like on the inside like that. Um, I the one thing I remember hearing about were like some smartphone applications where maybe you could use it for like directional, to help find your way, like maps
Lego was
over.
doing that in theme
Yeah,
parks, and
yeah, exactly.
I don't know how that successful it was, but the idea of indoor navigation and where you
Yeah,
follow a particular Lego character depending on the world that you're in. So
right.
I haven't
Or
got
just to help
the
navigate
Southwest
yourself
for a
through
while.
those. Yeah, yeah. Or just, I mean, just to help navigate yourself through those enormous parks, would be a huge benefit. Um, is
That's
and
a good reason to download an application.
yeah,
You're in a location, a particular space, like you were, and so there's a focus like I'm here. I need this app to navigate the space, and here is my mascot. In the Lego theme park, it was a particular Lego character, but I guess in Disney,
yeah.
I don't know. Has Disney adopted that where you can follow a particular mascot or character
No,
in the park, or is
no.
it because they thought there was no value in that?
I've not seen any kind of AR in the Disney parks yet, to be honest. I think there's some third parties, out there, some individuals who have been kind of messing around and trying to do things like scavenger hunts, maybe, or things like that.
Mm.
But I've not seen any. And Disney has an app on there that you can download called Disney Play, um, and you can activate it inside the theme parks, and it's got different little things to do. But a lot of it isn't necessarily AR. It's more like giving you facts and figures and things like that. So I'm not, and you got to imagine and think that certainly Disney is looking at it, probably very hard. Um, but at this point, I've not heard or seen anything that's been rolled out.
I'm actually just looking right now, and I'm seeing there's a couple of things talking about. So actually, in last year, Walt Disney World Resorts has announced a new addition to the Play Disney Parks app. there's a messaging application. Funny enough, we did one of the earliest prototypes for real-time messaging with animation characters that were licensed. That was in 2008, 2010, and we were a bit too ahead of the market in those days. And we were going to do it on the Blackberries. And the file sizes were these. Now, obviously, you can send GIFs and animated messages, but in those days, we were fully. I was working with an animation feature film director, and we were first experimenting with the content that we'd created in Germany, in the studio, and sending messages with some of the animation characters, the 3D characters, and then we started to license characters, popular characters. But again, it's when the hardware is not there to facilitate that process, it becomes quite hard.
I actually did my own little like AR thing in Epcot at one point. I had brought a corporate group down, and we were doing like a corporate training in innovation charrette, and we spent a day in Epcot, and I put together some different activities. And there was a third-party app. This is a couple of years ago. I can't remember. I can't remember the name, but it allowed you to kind of like paint an AR image onto something. So I put my company logo, the Brainstorm Institute logo, up on Spaceship Earth, and if you stood in a certain place in the park and you held your phone up, you could, see the my logo overlaid on top of Spaceship Earth, which was very, very cool. But that like I said, that was a third party app that I used, and I was just kind of getting creative.
And again, it's always interesting to think, well, what is the attractiveness of that type of experience? What's the I like the idea that people can tag locations and add their logo, add messages, or actually personalize spaces by tagging things. The idea is you can tag content to a specific location. Anyone who comes to that location can activate through location-based tracking. They can activate, or through a particular beacon, they can activate that tag, that video. So you get content based on your location, based on what you shared. And I don't know why no one's done something. I think the problem with that was actually very precise. There's a company actually right now that's just come out that's creating location-based tracking, and they're looking for GPS location-based tracking at the within 10 centimeters. So that the most accurate location-based tracking company that they're raising funds for their particular product. And I forget the name of the company actually, if I can. But for me, that opens up a door for a lot of new potential. The company, just to be clear, is called NART, the Next GPS, which is 150 times more accurate. And there's young guys who have founded it, and they've raised quite a substantial amount of money to launch this. But that is, I think, therein lies a huge opportunity specifically for spaces like real estate and AR, location-based tagging, and if they can actually deliver on that promise, then it's very, very interesting, because it does change a lot.
What was the name of the company again?
The company's called NART, N-A-U-R-T, and I'm speaking to this gentleman a bit later, so happy to connect.
Sure.
Jack Madalena is one of the co-founders, and I think that is a very exciting new development.
Yeah, I wonder if now SpaceX is building out the infrastructure in space with their satellite ring, and I think a lot of that has to do with like 5G and GPS and stuff like that. So this technology is just going to continue to evolve and get better and open up more innovation opportunities. And I think it's up to people like us to kind of be the ones who are forward thinking and seeing what's out there and experimenting.
Well, it's important to identify where there's clear value add, and it's really saying so something that we were initially discussing in the Toys and Games space is what would be the value of a digital brochure that brings and I don't know what your thoughts are, but would you see that as IKEA tried it, and other companies, and Mattel have experimented with it, and so has Lego. Playmobil have experimented with this idea of a brochure, a physical brochure, or you've got
Right.
tags that
Right.
you can
Right.
activate that
Yeah.
brings the product to life. What are your thoughts on something like that? Do you think that has value?
I think if it's done right, it does for sure. I think the challenge is that again, I think it's just kind of like such a new technology that it's still most of the people that take advantage of AR stuff like that are the early adopters, not necessarily the general public. I think a lot of people, um, to them it's still kind of like science fiction, and they that they still don't know just the basics of how to use their smartphone to pull up the content. um I yes, I mean I definitely see value in it. Again, the cost per person, that you're spending to do that.
Cost is actually is brought down, because once you've built the platform, you save time on shipping and
Yeah.
printing. So
Yeah.
definitely value in terms of what you're able to,
Yeah.
and also the tags and enhancing the story of.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the big things is how do you expand on the existing story of the product from that
Yeah.
physical brochure. Um, so there is definitely ways that you can make that interesting. Again, quality of
Yeah.
to really build on the quality of
Yeah.
the of the of the of the of the product. So what you're experiencing in AR really is a beautiful representation of the physical.
Yeah.
And you can
Yeah.
get into lighting, and there are companies that are really focusing on how do you capture uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
reflection on plastic, or lighting on plastic as you, or if I move in front of the AR
Right.
experience, if I move, you would capture, for example, here's a little Kinder toy of the Black
Yeah.
Panther, and even though it's plastic, there is a reflection. There's a light
Sure.
reflection, and also
Sure.
color is affected by my shirt
Sure.
or my movement. And if I move around like this, there is a reflection from my face. So it's
Sure.
responding to me. And again, there are companies that are focusing specifically on solving this problem, and they have solved this problem, but there is nothing that unifies all of these
Right.
elements. Uh,
Right.
and they're all pieces of a puzzle. And
Right.
wearables is is
Yeah.
is really when it's really going to make sense, because
Yeah.
uh, there's no barrier between you and the product, because you're wearing the glasses.
Yeah.
You can do
Right.
everything.
Right.
When you have to interact with your phone to experience something, then there's a one point of separation, and that loses
Right.
audience, right? So
Right.
having that direct experience. So I understand these things, but I'm still uh, really keen to find that, that beautiful sweet spot where people really see the value of AR for the toys cases, and really connect to it, and experiences aren't just
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like, oh, that's exciting, but I want to keep going back because I feel there's clear value for me as a
Yeah.
consumer, someone who loves this brand, or someone who really supports this existence and this store, this new.
Well, yeah, like you mentioned IKEA, and I remember they had, I'm pretty sure it was IKEA had a really cool AR app where you could bring up a piece of their furniture and point it where you might want it in the room, and you can actually place it and see how it would look in the room. Um,
But
so
wasn't adopted as much as people.
no.
I used to work on similar products. We did an app for
Yeah.
Bang& Olufsen actually back in the day, the very
Yeah.
high end, and they did sell more product through these apps.
Yeah.
But again, it's getting people to really adopt and feel comfortable playing
Yeah.
that type of
I
uh,
agree.
interface, and,
I
and to
agree.
feel like the iPhone is and I think the iPhone is wonderful because it's intuitive. It thinks as it operates as we think, and AR has to
Well,
respond in the same way.
I'll give you another example of AR that I was experimenting with, and this is going back, gosh, maybe a good dozen years or so. So like very early on. But at that point, I was working as a innovation specialist for the state of Florida and for the Florida Virtual School. And my job was to find like new and emerging technologies and figure out how to adapt those for education. And one of the things that I was experimenting with and looking into was I had spoken to a couple car manufacturers like General Motors and folks like that about the possibility of taking the telematics that are um, designed, engineered into the vehicles. Telematics is that in-car technology, right? How you can take those that telematic technology and deliver educational content for the students. And I was going so far as to, back then it was really kind of future thing. Um, but maybe you could even turn like the rear window of a vehicle into a screen, an AR screen. So say you're driving through like a state park or Washington D.C. or something, and you go by the monuments, it would display content on the car window, and obviously could get depth and think stuff like that. So I think part of AR too is waiting for the technology to catch up, and we're probably very very close to being able to do that now,
Mm.
but where you can take it even outside the phones or outside the wearables and look at how you can adapt it to other services for theme parks. I was looking at like in aquariums, having using that as like an AR service where you could identify the fish as they're swimming by or tag the fish and pull up information on where this whale is from or something like that right there on the aquarium screen.
The
So
difficulty with these things is recognizing 3D objects
mm,
successfully,
yeah,
and that's still quite late. It's still very rough, let's say, for to capture three-dimensional objects, especially in movement or toys, and to keep that tracking really to keep that tracking really smooth and very fluid. It's difficult.
it 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 can be done. I not maybe not necessarily in like the AR sense. I think part of it is because there hasn't been anyone who's made like a super concerted effort to cross pollinate certain types of technology. But I've seen like military technology, for example, where they can very easily, track vehicles at an intersection, and it identifies, the vehicle, the type of vehicle. I mean, a lot of like really kind of heavy stuff that is very science fictiony.
Which company does
And
that?
uh, this would be like engineering companies like the Boeings or Lockheeds or companies like that, or there are even some third parties out there using lidar technology. I think the use of lidar is going to be expanding, becoming more important in the VR world and AR world, in being able to identify components, in the natural environment and track them. So I think, like you said, the technology is out there. It's just kind of like in different places, and the challenge is being able to get those different pieces of the puzzle and finding a way to connect them together.
Yeah,
Um, it's it it. it I, I'm pretty certain that if you come up with the right idea, that the components are out there to figure out how to adapt and cross pollinate, uh, to get some real spectacular results.
agreed.
Yeah.
So where are you placing most of your focus today? Where is your energy?
Um, outside of AR or within that space, or just in general.
In that space,
So,
outside of that space.
so one of the biggest projects I'm working on right now is a new product that we're getting ready to actually launch on an Indiegogo campaign next week. We're very excited, called Snorble, which is a kids product, and it helps parents establish like that perfect bedtime routine for the kids, to help get them, into their pajamas and brush their teeth and, get relaxed and get ready for bed. And Snorble is about the size of a football or so,
Mm.
but he's got internal projectors which animate his face, but he's also got AR built into it. So it actually learns the child's name and can communicate with the child. It can tell stories. It's hooked up to the IoT, so it can, it knows what city it's in, and what the weather is like and what
Wow.
day it is and when the child's birthday is and all that kind of stuff. It projects. So there's a lot of like engineering that goes into this. The AI component has been a part that I've been focusing on beyond the creative too. I mean, my main focus is building out the story of the land of Lullaby, where Snorbles come from, and all the different creatures that live in Lullaby, and all of that. But that's on the creative side. On the technical side, it's amazing what's going into this product, and the AI is been really kind of fun to kind of bring them to life using that. So that's one area.
Wow.
And then, like I said, I'm working on some stuff in the XR VR space, AR, VR, XR, all of that for some looking at some military simulation and training um, things for that. So
Oh, nice. Amazing.
yeah, yeah,
The
really kind of
Snorble,
fun.
how long was that in development? That sounds like quite
Yeah,
well.
it's been in development for a few years now. We have a few working prototypes. We closed out our seed, or well, we're very close anyway to getting our seed funding round closed out. And like I said, we're launching it on Indiegogo in next week. So we've got a good working, you know, base working prototype, and the plan is to keep refining it, do some beta testing and things like that, and have them ready to like ship the final product around the holidays if all goes well. So, very exciting.
That's amazing. I'd love. Please share that with me when
Yeah,
you put the Indiegogo campaign up. I'm happy to share
yeah,
this as well with my network, because it sounds like a really
yeah.
exciting, a really,
It,
really cool piece of hardware.
it's amazing. It's amazing, and we've got 40,000 people already signed up before
Wow.
we've even launched it. Just who want information about when it launches, and
Have you got
we've
videos
already.
out on YouTube? Is there anything out there yet?
Yeah, there's on YouTube. We've got a channel. We've
Snorbles.
got, yeah, Team Snorble, I think, is or just Snorble.
SN Snor.
SNORBLE. And you can see the latest version of it out there. We've got a couple videos that we little promo
Wow.
videos, and there'll be more that will be released as we go through the Indiegogo campaign. Right now, we've been kind of keeping it a little bit under wraps.
It comes in at $199.
Yep. Yep.
That's interesting. I mean, very interested to know if how did you work out the price point for it, or was it just the reality of cost to manufacture?
Yeah, I mean, our founder, and we've got people smarter with numbers than I am. My wife doesn't let me balance our checkbook for good reason.
Guilty.
But yeah, but I think it's just a matter of really kind of like looking at what the manufacturing and development costs were, and kind of doing their diligence. The 199 is the full retail price on Indiegogo. I think you'll be able to get it like at a super early bird for like 159, and then there will be an early bird for 179, and then it'll go up to 199. So
Well, do you have any more questions, Brian, for me, or
I'd love to hear a little bit more about, your company and what you're doing, and you know.
Well, my focus is really to kind of we're an early stage startup. So the team from I'm working with a team from Smart Toys, Invisible Toys, and
Yeah.
IT Park, which is our parent company, which was a software company with about 350 software developers. It's been around 17 years, so we have this strong software experience, and now we're focused on uh, on really in my area is really kind of like focusing on content creation within the AR space, and my focus specifically is toys and games.
Okay.
And I've been in this space for some time, but at this particular time, I'm junction in this process. I'm interviewing or connecting with people like yourself, and
Yeah.
first saying, "Hi, I'm Luke. Nice to meet you. This is my background. This is what I'm doing. This is the industry. I think it's a very exciting space. Nothing's happening right now.
Yeah.
No one's figured this one out. No one's solved this problem. I've done quite a few toy shows. The products that exist today haven't really worked. I haven't.
Yeah.
There's a couple of companies that are doing some interesting stuff, but nothing that has. There's no. The only billion-dollar product that has come out in the space so far is Pokemon Go, and I think everyone has a sense of why that happened because of Pokemon, and it's just interesting to see how we can create something of value for this particular space with this technology, and
Yeah.
I'm just trying to see if I'm trying to solve that right now,
Yeah.
and my way of doing that is by having these conversations.
Well, I might have an idea for you for a Disney-based product, and I'll tell you some information offline about that.
That'd be great.
Um,
Love.
but
I've got you.
yeah,
I hope you know you said it on camera, so that'd be wonderful. That would be a great. It'd be wonderful to connect with Disney. It would be wonderful to explore ideas. I've spoken to.
well, I'll be clear that it's not endorsed by Disney or anything like that. So it's me as a former Imagineer with my own idea for something.
Well,
But
should we if you're not comfortable sharing it, should we end this conversation, then we can jump back on a call and we can continue chatting.
sure, sure,
Thank you so much for your time.
great,
Brian, you've been wonderful, and I look
yeah,
forward to speaking to you in a second.
it'd be great. Thanks.
Bye.